on live. Hey, hello everyone.
Hi.
Nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Oh, my hair looks ridiculous as always.
It always looks ridiculous.
We've got a very special edition of the mess we're in today. We're going to host Lisa Keogh's graduation ceremony. Lisa, you may remember, was the subject of a ridiculous complaint by classmates at her college because she said that only women have vaginas, which only two conservative MPs have been brave enough to say as well. So she's in a very small group of brave people. So anyway, she couldn't go to her graduation, so we're going to have it here. We have a little timetable, and when they come, we'll kick it off. We've also got a few student friends joining us, so that there's a bigger audience when when it all happens, basically. So yeah, it was Abertay College, I think, if that's right. Someone just asked, so I'm just seeing if that's right. Hold on a second. It was.
I think that's how you say it.
Abertay, yeah, that was it. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because, as we all know, the process is the punishment in these cases. They don't even have to find anything against you. Obviously she said nothing wrong, but the stress that it placed her under, she actually had to complete her studies, a law degree, while she was undergoing the investigation. And now she can't go to her graduation because of these dickheads. So sorry, lowering the tone of the graduation ceremony already. Let's put all that to one side. How has your week been? What have you been looking at? What's been going on in the crazy old world of gender nonsense?
I thought the sort of the continued almost doubling down of Laurie Penny was quite interesting, where sort of just misrepresentation. I think the sort of the whole right wing thing, but I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, I actually had a conversation with her on Twitter where she was saying, women, you just don't want to compromise, etc. So I said, and this was really interesting. I said, can we just agree that there is a conflict of interest, and that conflict arises from the fact that one group are male born and one group are female born. That is the conflict, because there was the usual attempt to say, yes, well, there's any group of people, and I said no, but these specific groups, because the source of the conflict is because one group is male born or one group is female born.
Yeah.
And I asked maybe 3 or 4 times, and in the end, she at least did have the honesty to say, I can't answer that honestly.
What?
Because I can't answer that honestly because it'll be taken out of context and used against me on either side, etc., etc. I hope you understand.
Pleading the fifth.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Which was interesting. I mean, at least
I have to admit that trans women are men, basically.
Well, at least at least she had the honesty to say, I'm not going to answer it. I'll give her that. She didn't just sort of block and walk away. She said, I'm not going to answer it, which I think was obviously something in itself, wasn't it? But dreadfully, dreadfully disappointing, because if you are going to smear a whole group of women because of a problem that you're suggesting exists, not being willing to at least confront their point it's just wrong, isn't it? It just shows that you're prepared to you're prepared to just use expedience in order to try and win your argument. Just not actually address the finer points, just say, but they're just right wing.
Yeah.
It was disappointing.
I also find it interesting that they're able to carry on this right wing charge. Like they never address the fact that most of our most famous TERFs over here are all from the left: J.K. Rowling, Julie Bindel, Helen Steele, Linda Bellos. These are the people who, the thing I found particularly extraordinary was Laurie offering her email address to people like that and saying, drop me a line, I'll tell you how to get out of this pickle you've found yourself in.
Oh yeah, that was so funny.
It's like you should be going to them, cap in hand. You should be going to them and on your hands and knees and apologizing to them for for what you've been saying about them. How dare you? How dare you talk to Helen Steele and Linda Bellos and people like that? You know, these kids. They just think they can, you know, invent realities that we'll all go along with. But they you know, it just keeps the problem with the other side that they have with the UK, with Turf Island, as I've heard it called. Very proud to be on Turf Island. But the problem is that they keep whacking up against that wall of, over here, the opposition to this stuff comes from a left wing, often Marxist, feminist stance, you know, and they never address this, you know, and
there's a reality there. There's just they're making up their own reality, but it's easily disprovable, and they're still getting away with it. Everybody anyone can look at J.K. Rowling's entire history and see that she's not right wing. What the fuck are they talking about when they say this comes from the right wing? It's demonstrably false, and they're still living in their magic fantasy land. This isn't something that's really hard to disprove. When they list off a bunch of left-wing academics and say that they're all really right-wing, this is just demonstrably disprovable. Sort of like the idea that the UK is like this horror for trans people when there hasn't been a single trans murder in a country of, 60, 70 million now? This is a hugely populous, tiny little island with a gazillion people on it.
But it's also dangerous, isn't it? It's dangerous, as we saw from the protests on the weekend. You know, that woman, incredibly brave woman, but, you know, being cornered, corralled, harassed, pushed to her car, but, you know, standing firm, sort of not being cowed by it.
Yeah.
But, you know, those protests show you the danger inherent in painting women as evil monsters, because people have absolutely no qualms about going after them. People have no qualms about using violence or force because they've been constantly told that they're evil. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? This was exactly what was going to happen with, you know, and people do it on purpose. It's a purposeful thing in order to try and shame women. But what's happened is they're demonized so much that it's now dangerous.
I have to say, I found, like, you know, I try and keep on top of things for my blog and so on, you know. And sometimes, like, there's so much news that comes in all the time on this stuff that everyone else is ignoring. Everyone else, you know. I mean, there's a few exceptions from time to time. Like the Times has been good on it. The Telegraph, right-wing leaning papers are good on it. Left-wing papers just pretend it's not happening. You know, I don't think I've seen one mention of the protests at wheesht, except in the Washington Post, which framed it as if. As if this bloke, who, if it's the bloke that many people think it is, you know, he's one of these who, not even an attempt at makeup, right? Just a fucking guy going down the fucking gym. That's all he is. You know?
Well, he was wearing a bit of makeup if it's the knife guy, but he was still an aggressive, dangerous guy.
He was wearing a bit of makeup in the knife bit because, you know, but he wasn't, like, I've seen photographs of him working out. Normal guy, just a normal guy. So, you know, the fact that the Washington Post can just so clearly lie about this, it really started to get me down. It started to get me down how the Guardian and all these kind of left-wing, you know, supposedly left-wing progressive publications have completely abandoned women to these scumbags, you know. It should have been a huge story that women were being attacked for not wanting to look at dicks. You know, I think the mood was quite shocked this week because you know, like people are saying right at the start, people are saying, look, this is your question sort of come to life. People have to acknowledge it now. Yes.
But what happened is that people just said, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. And that, and you know, and I think, and the violence, honestly, some of the takes that I've seen from the other side, absolutely just appalling. Even I was shocked yesterday to find somebody, reasonable, sort of, not reasonable, a very unreasonable chap, the other side, calling those signs at the trans pride protest, calling, I don't even want to say it out loud, about a female author, death threats.
Yeah.
Calling them ink. If you're going to protest ink at a trans inclusive protest, but not call out blood at a gender critical protest because they were attributing some male violence to your side, and it was just abhorrent. So just disgusting, really. It's so just excusing violence, excusing male violence, just completely. There's no other word for it. And there's been so much of that I think the mood has been really quite down. But I think we regroup and we're like, okay, now it's completely mainstream. Loads of people have seen it. Loads of people have said, what the actual fuck? This is just ridiculous.
But a lot of people.
I think the wee spa thing is just, some people, like when people pretend that that's a trans woman, that just piques more people, This is one of these stories that my mother's really engaged with because it's in the American media on the sort of 24-hour news cycle. There's been a lot of coverage of it.
Good.
And it's just so obviously horrible, And I'm very curious about the byline of that Washington Post piece, whether the editors did the lazy thing that they do and said, oh, this is a trans story, we got to get a trans person to cover it. And, I wonder.
Yeah, that would explain it. I mean, it's crazy. It's like reading something from an alternate timeline. It's like, do you know what happened? I mean, how can you be okay with this? Like to have an August publication like the Washington Post actually kind of say women were being a bit, they're being a bit
a bit transphobic there.
They need to be looking at dicks even if they don't want to, and their kids too. It's like, what? This is the Washington Post.
But I think it was covered by the of course the Mail here, which will have just made loads of people, loads of normal people say, what? No, this is insane. I mean, it is because it is.
I know, but how many times can you say it? I mean, it just keeps happening. I'll tell you one good thing about it, though. I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that this can happen in that this is the law in California. That their fucking lunatic gender identity, over sex is actually the law in California. Someone told me once that there's no lesbian bars in California anymore. There's no lesbian only bars because they all admit these fucking blokes who I exposed in the Her stunt. It's just mixed sex. Mixed sex.
But I think like nothing's going to change until most of the country believes that it's happening. We've been saying things, and look, this is happening. People have been saying, no, it isn't. Your question is just fear-mongering. It's just terrible. It's just rubbish. It's not happening. This is never happening. People are seeing it happen now. And I think it's just got to happen, and people have got to see it, and then people will be like, no, we can't have this.
And quite frankly, people have got to see what these men look like, because they're still picturing, they call it transgender. They say it's all about your gender identity. And people have this idea in their heads that some men are just so naturally feminine and so naturally more in line with women. Then what's the big deal? That they're basically women in every way, except technically they have a Y chromosome, is still the idea in most people's heads, Yes. That we're just being such jerks by being such sticklers for the chromosome when everything else, they're just so obviously just like women and nothing like men. That's so fucking not true. They've got to get it in their heads that these are garden variety masculine men with a sexual paraphilia for pretending to be women. And this is not about being safe and achieving, comfort. It's about erotic thrills, erotic satisfaction. You've got to get that through to people. So the more they see what these people look like, the more they start to get it, that this was a bait and switch,
Yes, absolutely. Another story that happened that turned out not to be a story, I think Alison corrected it herself, but I want to talk about it a little bit because I think it displays something very important. The whisper thing that happened to Alison Bailey. She thought that trans rights activists had thrown a chocolate into her garden to hurt her dog because chocolate is bad for dogs. And you know, it was a bit weird that a whisper bar was thrown over around the same that the Wee Spa event was going on.
Oh, that's something Scientologists do every single time. The first thing they do to their enemies is throw something into their garden to kill the dog.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Every judge in a Scientology case, every person who's had a complaint, their dog ends up dead.
Fuck off. That's incredible.
Really?
Wow.
Yep. So this is interesting so Alison Bailey has reason to be worried because it's
exactly, and that's my point. I mean, you know, she had a lot of people, including disgracefully the man at bus stop, our Scottish actor friend, who literally called the police on a mother of 2 autistic kids because he saw a ribbon, and now he's making fun of Alison Bailey. I tell you what, dickhead, sit this one out. Sit this one out. Anyway, but the thing about it is, what these people and really, you know, I must stress, there's not actually that many of these kinds of people. They are a minority, but they're very loud. They get stuff done in a bad way, you know. But what these people all love is they love putting their targets into such a state of uncertainty that things like that could be innocent, but they could be, you know, something else. People just don't know, because the tactics of trans rights activists are disgusting. You know,
they're the same tactics as Scientologists. They're no-holds-barred, completely unhinged cultists who, you know, their minds are not engaged. Their hearts are full of complete certainty that you are the enemy and you deserve to die. Yeah.
Yes, and in fact, I know you know, Artie. There's a principle in Scientology of fair game, which basically means you can do anything to someone who is an enemy of Scientology. You can do anything to them, right?
Right.
And in the same way that you can have a group of men surrounding a woman outside the Wee Spa, and no one will, you know, Laurie Penny won't condemn it. Owen Jones won't condemn it. None of these people will condemn it because they have been successfully conditioned into thinking that groomed into thinking that these people are evil fascists who are on the right, you know. And so I wanted to say, Alison Bailey, you had every right to react, or, you know, even if it turned out to be wrong, you had every right to feel the way you did and to worry the way you did. And I hope that, you know, you've got someone looking after you, and that people are looking, you know, keeping an eye on you. And I don't know. Sorry, people are coming in, so I'm slightly distracted.
I also just want to say, you know, if it was kids, I've genuinely never come across a kid who will throw away a full chocolate bar.
Yeah, there's something extremely suspicious about throwing a full chocolate bar into someone else's yard. That's completely suspicious. And when you're already under constant attack, I'd be very, very paranoid and uncomfortable about that.
Yeah. So we just wanted to say, power to you, Alison. Hope you're okay and stay well. We have 2 of our student guests have arrived. There's Daisy. Daisy's face has come up. So shall we bring them in and get just while we're waiting for our guest of honor, and just say hello? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So we have with us Sophie Watson and
wow,
and Daisy. Hello, Sophie and Daisy.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
And we have Saoirse, who is
yes. Is it coming through okay?
I can see. Yeah, I can hear Saoirse, and I can hear. I don't know who spoke there. It might be Sophie. Yeah, I think we're okay. Let's go with the feed that seems most stable, and then we'll wait for everyone else to catch up. Saoirse, you seem most stable. How are you doing at the moment? How is student life, and are things getting better or worse for students at the moment?
Oh, okay. So, at my college, I wouldn't say things are getting better. I would say that, you know, the uni administration want to protect free speech, but there's a lot of pressure from activists at my college. So it's been a huge challenge for me, no question.
Yeah. Are you still facing harassment and all that type of thing?
100%. Yeah, it's a weekly thing for me now. It's just become part of my everyday reality, actually, which is, it's sad when you think about it, but yeah.
What form does it take?
Twitter, normally Twitter stuff, or, you know, getting my friends targeted and branded as well. And, you know, just very unpleasant stuff, like trying to get me removed off committees and all that stuff, which they've succeeded in. I'm pretty much not involved with anything in my college anymore. And I was very involved. Like, I was one of these people that, you know, would be in everything.
Yes.
Not anymore.
I'm really sorry to hear that. I mean, luckily there's so much shit going on in this particular line of activism that it keeps you busy, at least. Yes. Daisy, how about yourself, Daisy? How are you? Can I? So I know someone was once in Cambridge Radfems with Phoebe. Was that Daisy or Sophie?
It's not me.
Not you. Okay, so Sophie, it was you. Yes, I'm sorry. So Sophie, are you still in Daisy? Sorry, I'll come to you in a second. Sophie, are you still with are you still in Cambridge? Are you still studying there?
No, I've just graduated, as it happens. But I'll continue to be an alumni member of the Radfems.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Oh,
yeah, they can't
congratulations.
me that easily.
Yeah, they're one of the most. You're one of the more vocal groups, so I'm really happy that you're working away there. And Daisy, where are you studying, and what are you up to on this score?
So my situation is a bit different. I'm a mature student, obviously. I'm studying English literature. I am a student of Hull University, but I study via a university centre. So.
Okay, and have you had any trouble about your GCVs?
Well, not me specifically, but my daughter, because the university centre where I'm attached to, it's associated with the local college. And at the time, my daughter was 15. This is going back 3 years. But because she was a home educated student, they allowed her to enrol on a course of theirs. And they have gender neutral toilets, which are literally right next door to the women's toilets. And the 1 week they had a safeguarding talk that they invited all the kids to. And they advised the students, if you feel unsafe, please approach a tutor and we'll deal with it. So one day my daughter was in the toilet and there were 2 men in the female toilets. One was a trans woman, the other was just a commoner gardener man. And she did exactly as she was told to do. She approached one of the tutors, who then told her to stop being rude, first of all, and threatened to report her if she didn't desist. Now, I will remind you at this point that my daughter was 15, a minor.
That's absolutely revolting. I can't believe that.
That's outrageous.
What did you do about it, Daisy? What did you do?
Well, this was a sort of on the back of it's sort of tangentially relevant, I suppose, because their track record of dealing with harassment against women in general is not great. My daughter was sexually assaulted on campus, so it sort of happened around the same time, and that became the priority. But their solution at that time was to try and get my daughter in to meet up with the guy who sexually assaulted her. So I went full mama bear trying to deal with that situation, that the gender stuff sort of fell to the wayside, because how can you ask a 15-year-old child to sit in a meeting with the adult man who sexually assaulted her? And the police were involved at this point, and their response to the situation was that, sorry?
Which university?
Yeah, the police were involved at the time, and sorry, you're all coming across at mixed times. I can't hear you properly.
Sorry, Daisy. Go ahead. Finish the story. Finish the story first, and then we'll ask questions.
Okay. So the police were.
I think we've lost Daisy. Daisy, I think we've lost you. It's a bad connection or something. Hopefully we'll be able to get you back at some point, but that is an extraordinary story. Oh my God. I mean, we're just waiting for Lisa to come in to celebrate her thing, and then a story like Daisy's comes along. When, you know, it's just shocking what's going on. Daisy, I don't know if you can hear us, but we've completely lost you. So I'll wait for you to come back in, and then I will. I'll wait for the image to move, and then I'll bring you back in. But we have Lisa here, so we're going to add Lisa. Lisa, our guest of honor. A round of applause, please, for our graduate Lisa. Hooray! Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. It's a really, I was so happy that you let us do this, because I don't know, I was just very inspired by what you did. Can you explain to people your story, exactly what happened to you?
Yeah. So basically, I just had to take part in obviously the last year of law, and I had some compulsory classes I had to take. One of them being the gender, sexuality, and the law class. And in that class, we were discussing lots of sensitive topics and things. And we were talking about women, and somebody had literally said to me, "What do you class as a woman?" And I've said it before, but it was one of those moments, I kind of just like looked myself up and down. And I was like, well, someone with a vagina and the ability to reproduce, like me. And everybody started going crazy. So I tried to, justify what I was saying. Like, I'm a woman, I have a vagina. And the more I tried to justify what I was saying, the more sort of hatred I was getting. And I wasn't fully aware of all this sort of stuff at that point. So for me, I was just like, whoa, what have I done? And obviously from that point forward, there was completely a target on my back. Everything I said, people were just looking to take offense to everything. I could have said, the sky's blue. And somebody would have went, well, it's not quite blue. It's they would have just taken offense to anything I'd said at that point.
And Lisa, how many of these were your fellow students, right?
Yeah.
How many students were involved in this? Was it the vast majority of the class, or was it a few very vocal ones?
No, it was broken up. So we all had to pick different subjects for the last year. So it was broken up. I think there was about 15 or 16 people in the class, 17 probably including myself. So I think it was a good 7 of them that obviously took great offense to what I said. Yeah.
And the university, they didn't dismiss this. They actually put you through a investigation. Is that right?
2 months of hell. That's all I can say. It was 2 months of hell. I got the initial email saying that I was getting investigated for making inappropriate comments. And obviously I'm sitting there bewildered, like, well, what was inappropriate about what I've said in that class? And I was sitting thinking, I'm like, I haven't said anything inappropriate. And I was really like confused. And it wasn't until we went to the meeting, and obviously the lady that was conducting the meeting had said to me, "Is it true that you said only women are born with vaginas?" And I was like, yeah. Can you see why that's offensive? And I was like, no, can you? And then obviously, I'm not allowed to answer your question. She went, "Is it true that you said that men are physically stronger than women?" And I said, yeah, I did say that. She went, "Do you see why that's offensive?" And I was like, well, no, I used to be a mechanic. I know that men on a general basis are physically stronger. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I explained as to why. And then she's like, did you, I said, I even like put in, because my children do MMA, so I'm quite adept with the MMA world, and I knew about this fight with Fallon Fox, who obviously was born a man. So I put that in, and obviously when I put that in, the lecturer blocked me, like muted me from being able to partake in the rest of the class.
What?
And I explained this to the investigating lady. I was like, I put this in to kind of evidence what I was saying, and at that point I was just muted. And it was crazy. It was a crazy class.
That's extraordinary. And you had no idea any of this stuff was going on before you fell foul of it, is that right?
Not really. Do you know what? I'm just a really boring mum. I do the school runs, I take the kids to their martial arts, I cook tea, I tidy up, I look after the dogs. I generally don't partake in any of these I didn't partake in any of this sort of stuff. I was too busy with uni and being a mum. So I didn't really know any of this sort of stuff was going on until it was confronting me in the face.
Can I ask a question? Here's an interesting question. If someone told you just before it happened to you that you could get into trouble for saying that women have vaginas, would you have believed it to be true, or would you have thought that was someone pulling your leg?
I would have thought they were joking, and I still would have said women have vaginas.
It's an interesting aspect to this fight that we often talk about, is people don't believe us because the stuff is so mad. Their positions are so crazy. People actually don't believe they're going on. They think do you know what they think it is? They think it's a right-wing exaggeration along the lines of when right-wingers used to say, oh, it's political correctness gone mad. But the thing is, it really is political correctness gone mad. It's pure insanity that only a small number of whack jobs believe. And yet what I find most upsetting about your case is that the school indulged it. Why do you think? Let me ask Sophie, who hasn't come in yet on a question. Can I ask you, Sophie? Why do you think schools indulge these people?
I think perhaps because increasingly universities, have been commercialized. I know that there's a big attitude at Cambridge. People talk about getting their money's worth, given that we pay tuition fees. I think that lecturers, I know plenty of lecturers reached out to me during my degree and said that, they were afraid to kind of demonstrate support publicly, but just kind of giving me a helping hand behind the scenes. And I think the fact that lecturers are afraid of their students suggests also that administrators are going to be afraid of their students, and the vice chancellor or whoever else. There's just really is a culture of fear that's been really carefully cultivated. And I think it's worth noting actually what Lisa said about how once she defended herself, it only just got worse. And I think actually there's the reason that it inspires so much anger when people defend themselves on this is because the way that these people work is by jumping on you immediately, shutting you down, making you apologize, abjectly. So as if anyone kind of questions that narrative and fights back, then that just, is doubly infuriating. And I think all of this kind of ties into the fact that it's about creating a culture of fear. And I think that's the reason that universities, go through these ridiculous procedures rather than just telling students to, well, I don't want to swear on your
Yeah. Daisy, can I ask, your story is so extraordinary. I think we should get you back on at some point to talk about it more, because it's an incredible story. What university was it, may I ask?
So it's the University Centre at Doncaster. And I'm attached. They offer various courses, like you can be a student of Hull or Lincoln or York, but attend at Doncaster. So it just worked for me at the time because I'm local, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's an extraordinary story. But listen, it is past, so I think we have to get on with the graduation. That's why we came here. That's the important thing to do. Daisy, I'd love to get you back on at some point to talk more about that. And perhaps we can have a more general kind of student discussion soon, as soon as we get the important business out of the way. Can I ask my fellow professors to get on their things? Okay, there we go. I bought mine on Amazon, but Artie made his, and Helen made. Didn't you made yours as well?
I made it at lunchtime.
Yes. Okay. Made it at lunchtime. There you go. Extraordinary. Lisa, can I ask you to do the honors, please? Yes, please. There has to be some standards here.
Mine just arrived like literally 5 minutes before I came on.
Oh, excellent.
Well, I am actually, as the bearer of a honorary degree from the UEA, I am actually legally entitled to perform ceremonies like this. So I'd like to officially welcome you all to Lisa's graduation ceremony. Artie, may I ask you to first please say a few words?
Okay. Lisa, congratulations. College is like the training wheels on the bicycle of life. And now you can ride free into the bike lane of the world. So have a good ride. Wear a helmet.
Well,
God save the Queen. God bless America. Thank you.
Well, that's an interesting one. I'll have you know, Artie, I wrote mine. I spent a lot of time writing my speech, so that'll have to do, I'm afraid. But Helen,
I'm afraid Artie spent all his time making his hat.
Well, that's true. The hat.
There's only one Artie, okay? I made a hat.
Helen, may I ask you to do the official toast to Lisa, please?
Okay, so congratulations to a woman who has endured difficulty and stress and come out on top. I think if nothing else, you can take that away as I don't want to say brilliant experience, but it's an experience that shows that you can stand up for yourself and what is right, and what you believe to be right. If you can handle it, I think, you know, you've proven your ability to navigate a difficult, intense conflict, which is obviously going to stand you in brilliant stead for a glittering career in law. Yes, congratulations.
Here. Congratulations. I've got this, which doesn't look as good, but. Now, Lisa, may I call upon our valedictorian, Lisa Keogh, and our sole graduate, to say a few words, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for doing this for me. I think that's a really, really kind gesture to do. And do you know what? I think it's definitely deserved. I've worked over the past 4 years, juggling children and everything. So, no, I'm really, really grateful that I'm able to celebrate this, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at I actually have, would you believe, I actually have a timeline of what we do. And I think I'm next. Lisa, before we hand over your diploma, I'll be asking Helen to do so. I just wanted to say a few words. Lisa, thank you for granting us the honor of hosting your graduation. Not only have you completed a 4-year law degree, you did so while caring for both of your sons, aged 8 and 10, and while undergoing a malicious, punitive investigation shamefully brought against you by Abertay University because some of your classmates get angry when women stand up for reality and for themselves. As you know, in cases like yours, the process is the punishment, and with any luck, the bad publicity that Abertay University brought upon themselves will make them think twice before they entertain similar frivolous, vindictive complaints from lunatics. You are an inspiration, and I'm sure potential employers will look favorably on the grit you displayed and the graft you were able to summon in order to complete your studies. As long as there are brave individuals such as yourself, there is always hope. You are a credit to your late mum and dad, and we wish you every success in life. Lisa Keogh, congratulations on graduating, and good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Right. So that actually took about 10 minutes, whereas I thought it would take 20 minutes, or half an hour. So we've got 20 minutes to fill.
I think we need to hand over. We need to hand over the certificate.
Oh yes, sorry, Helen. I skipped ahead. Helen, will you hand over the certificate to Lisa, please?
Actually, it's down. It's down there. Down there. Here it comes. Down.
Thank you.
Yay! Wow, that was even smoother than I'd hoped. That was great. It's like you're there. Okay. So let's.
Oh, I think somebody needs to read out the excellent poem that's just been put up in the comments by Vanessa East.
Okay.
Can you see it, Graham?
I can't. Let me.
There once was a clever young lady who thinks only women have babies. Although that is true, and they blatantly knew, it seems they would rather be crazy.
Well, there you go. That's absolutely
brilliant.
Excellent. Okay. Now, I'm always, because we're celebrating, and this is a wonderful day. I don't want to kind of bring the mood down, but I know how to phrase this question to get a possibly happy answer. Do you see any shoots of hope, Saoirse, in how the debate has changed over the last few months or weeks? Do you see things are changing slightly? Are people beginning to apply, more critical thinking to this?
Well, I think that certainly in my university, the fact that they are upholding free speech, despite the pressure, I mean, that's a serious win. And I think actually Laurel Hubbard and the Olympics, that petition on change.org,
yes.
I mean, the amount of people signing that, I think there's definitely people realizing that we're not talking about just a couple of people, we're talking about a whole crazy movement that is nuts.
Yes.
So
yes.
I do think, I think there's going to be pushback, there's going to be a battle, but I think we're on the winning team here. For sure.
Well, it is kind of reassuring, isn't it, that you actually, when you're on the side of reality, it actually does make it a little bit easier to fight, because they have no arguments, they have no positions they can debate, they have nothing they can like the only kind of tactics they can use are these kind of intimidation and stress and all the rest of it. Sophie, do you think those tactics are going to keep working, or do you think there might be a change in the culture in universities?
I think ultimately they've only worked so far because all it takes is one crack, I think, and one kind of little shimmer of light coming in, and then exponentially things have to improve. Because I mean, this kind of intimidation tactics and silencing, it only works as long as it succeeds totally. You know, as soon as we get, you know, even a couple of stories in the public eye, as soon as people become aware, and I mean, Lisa, massive props to you for this, because I know you didn't choose this, and this is something that fell upon you, but you know, I think that your case in particular is making a huge difference. It's something that I've heard people on all sides of the political spectrum talking about, and you know, yeah, I know you've gone through so much and at such a like complicated and difficult time, but it's not going to be for nothing, I don't think. And as Saoirse said about Laurel Hubbard, it's, you know, the more that people become aware, the more difficult it is to put the cat back in the box, so to speak.
Yeah, they can't keep lying that it's not happening or that it's only happening in certain cases. I mean, the wee spa proves that Helen's question is not just a thought exercise. It is a real problem that women are experiencing right now. Daisy, what was interesting about your story was the fact that there was a man and a trans woman in the toilets. And of course, your daughter wouldn't have been able to challenge either, because the Stonewall law says that anyone who says they're a woman is a woman. Were the college not in any way embarrassed about their position? Were they made to feel? Were you able to take out any other actions against them to kind of pull them up on their responsibilities?
Well, before my internet went crazy and I fell off, what I was saying was that we were dealing with the sexual assault situation, and the police got involved, but insofar as to say, oh, we've been and had a word, but that was it. And I went hell for leather at the college and said, look, my daughter is not coming back to this facility unless he is out. And eventually got somewhere with that, and they kicked him out. But she had to take a year out after that anyway, because she was the whole system was so messed up in how they dealt with her, because there were other teenagers and other adults who were harassing her at college because she had made this allegation against this man. She was being continually harassed, bullied, spat at, people were putting cigarettes out on her. It just got so out of control, and she left college at the point where she lost nearly all of her hair through stress. She was so emotionally broken, she just couldn't face it. So we never challenged it any further than that, because she wasn't going to be there. Now, I have obviously returned and gone to university. And what's interesting is that I've never really been very quiet about that I'm gender critical. It's never come up in terms of my studies. It hasn't come up yet. It's going to be interesting next year, because the first year we sort of did feminism. The second year we did post-colonialism and race issues. Next year, I have a feeling it's going to cover queer theory. So that's going to be challenging. But Maya has changed things, because now, like, women who were obviously gender critical before, now they feel brave. Now they feel like, hang on a second, this is protected. I can talk about this, and I'm going to talk about it, and that will be my approach going into writing my dissertation.
Yes, and
superb.
That's great. That's really good to know. And I know if Maya, I hope someone passes on to Maya. I can't expect her to watch every single episode of these, but I hope someone passes on to Maya that she's inspiring people, you know, to be braver. I was going to say something about what you said just there. Another thing is, if you are gender critical and you have been kicked off Twitter, it might be worth contesting your ban again. Because Helen got back on just after Maya's win, and so did Seven Hex, a transsexual friend of ours, and she got back on as well. So 7hex got back on after 2 years. So people, if you got banned under your own name, then give it a go. You might actually get lucky. And if they don't bring it back on, we might, I don't know, who knows, we might be able to sue them someday. Wouldn't that be lovely? Lisa, what happens now when you have a law degree? Do you just march up and demand a job from someone, or do you have to shop yourself around?
Oh, I wish I could do that. No, just now I'm looking at probably just doing a bit of voluntary work and like working towards helping people get their rights, like women and children. In the future, obviously next year, I'm going to do my diploma, so I can be a proper solicitor and go to court and things like that. But for now, I want to kind of advocate for people's rights. This has taught me that I need to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves.
Right. And I think that one of the only kind of positive aspects of this nonsense is that it just produces so many brave people. I'm extremely proud to be on the same side as all of you. You're an absolute inspiration. I'm a 50-year-old comedy writer, so it's kind of easy for me to take this stance, but it's much harder if you're young. You run the risk of losing entire social circles, and some of this, and what you've been describing, Daisy, what happened to your daughter. I mean, it's appalling. I had no idea. So thank you for everything you do. And if ever we can help, if ever you need a story to get out there or anything like that, please get in touch, and we'll get you on again. But for now, I think we'll end ceremonies. Obviously, there's a disco that we all go to in our own private spaces. I guess should we throw our hats in the air? Is that a thing?
Oh, right.
Yes.
There we go. Lisa, congratulations again. Thank you all for being so brave and for inspiring us. And we'll see you all soon.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You're amazing. Okay, farewell. Okay, right. I'm just removing. There. Okay. I think that was okay. Oh,
that was lovely. It was such lovely. A beautiful thing. It was a
Artie,
lot more.
I'm sorry I made fun of your
speech. Than I expected it to be.
I'm sorry I made fun of your speech. Your speech was actually very funny, but I just
I
felt on the spot. I didn't know what to say. I really didn't know the full details of her story.
You see, I got all that information. She sent that to me, and I used it in my brilliant speech. So sorry, Artie.
You upstaged me with a beautiful speech. That was beautiful, Graham. That was very, very touching. Yeah.
Well,
and Graham, I want to say it was your idea to do this, and I think it was such a lovely idea. And so well done on you for thinking it up and pulling it off, putting it together and getting it done. I thought that was really good.
Oh, well, thank you. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope we can do more things like that. There's always going to be some brave people about who we can celebrate and bring on this show while no one else will.
It's so incredible what people are going through. I still cannot believe that all Lisa said was that someone put her on the spot and asked her definition of a woman, and she gave an honest answer, someone with a vagina. And that was all it took for the mob to go mad. When are people going to see that this is insane? It's just completely insane.
That's what
getting so many people to climb back off the ledge is going to be crazy. The reckoning is going to be nuts. We've talked many times about a golden bridge. It's too late for a golden bridge. These people have humiliated themselves, and it's all on the record. This is going to be very difficult to undo because it's going to be a mass reckoning. It's like after a war and a side has lost and is going to have to go through a reconciliation period.
Yeah. Well, that's what Maya suggested. Maya suggested a truth and reconciliation process like the South African thing, and I that may seem like it's a bit over the top, but the thing is, what people don't realize is how many friendships and lives have been destroyed by this. A lot of people need, like just an example out of nowhere, Suzanne Moore. Owen Jones needs to apologize to Suzanne Moore. His treatment of her was disgusting.
He needs to apologize to women.
He needs to apologize to women, but Suzanne Moore would be a good start, and I just, it'll take a while to get around all of them. but yeah, but a lot of people need to do a lot of apologizing, you know, and I wonder, I don't know, that might be a subject for a future episode. Will they do so, or will they just quietly pretend
do
they
you know what?
didn't
No,
say anything?
People just double down, don't they? I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, who was, you know, and you can see this sort of person because you can spot them a mile away. They start off really quite aggressive and a bit rude. You know, I asked the question, and they were like, "Oh, Helen," you know, as soon as somebody starts using your name, you know that it's purposefully antagonistic and trying to be sort of patronizing, etc. But what was interesting is that they kept on trying to change the conversation to say, well, how are you going to police this radical change in the law that you're asking for? And people are saying, well, there is no radical change in the law. Women are, you know, there are single sex exemptions. But the narrative didn't change. Other people would come in and the same thing would be said. How are you going to police this radical change in the law? And I thought it was a really interesting thing to watch. There's no acknowledgement of the fact that they're wrong. The question has been sort of talked about, it's been answered. It's just a complete, they know it's a lie, but they will say it anyway. And they will just keep on and saying it. And so I really do wonder if people will sort of backtrack. I don't know how it can happen unless I guess, you know, somebody, you know, a few people do, and then they start to think, okay, well, the tide is turning, maybe I better change my stance. I mean, maybe somebody who's prepared to lie, if people are prepared to lie one way, maybe they'll be perfectly happy just saying, I never said that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not enforced, though. Oh, yeah?
Oh, no, sorry. What were you going to say, Artie? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, the psychology of being proven wrong is no one will ever admit to being wrong and apologize for being wrong unless they're absolutely unambiguously forced, kicking and screaming and in handcuffs, you know, like they just won't. So it's going to be a real mess because there are so many, it's not just a small handful of people so that a majority can put them on the spot and force them to recant. There are so many people who've gone down this rabbit hole now that I don't know, it's unprecedented because most people can quietly change their political views. Like I said, in the past, before there was a record of everything you ever did, you could just quietly, you could quietly shed your racist political beliefs, but your misogynist political beliefs are all on the record now, and you can't, nobody ever suddenly says, yesterday I was wrong, today I see that I was wrong. It's a process that takes a long time, and it usually involves people burying their past views or trying to get away from them and saving face. Right? Yeah. That's not going to be possible in this case, which means they're going to fight like cornered feral animals. And
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's the problem with the Golden Bridge. I don't think there is a Golden Bridge, as you say, because they've committed, they've done so many terrible things in the name of this nonsense, that there's no way over it. There's no way back, But anyway, on that slightly sedate note, I better go. I'm gonna have to pick up the boy. What a pleasure to share an hour with such brave people. It's brilliant.
Yes, that was really lovely. Such a lovely thing to do. I enjoyed it.
We must get Daisy back to hear more of that story because that was extraordinary. I didn't realize that.
That was shocking. So shocking.
Jesus Christ. But I'd like to thank all our guests again. If I do it by name, I'll fuck up and forget someone. So I'll just concentrate on our guest of honor, Lisa Keogh. Lisa, well done again. You're an inspiration. Even though you're a kind of reluctant GC person, didn't even know you were GC until a few months ago. It's great to have you on board, and we're sure your qualities will continue to shine. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.